Greetings and salutations. Thank you for lending an ear to the voice of the times this Tuesday, November 9, 2021. For today's editorial, Cop Out at COP26. Going into the second and final week of COP26, the UN Climate Change Summit in Glasgow, Scotland, participants must by now realize the immensity of the task they must accomplish. The Glasgow conference is being touted as the most important environmental summit in history. It could be the game changer in the global campaign to reverse the effects of global warming before they become catastrophic. The initial agreements so far are significant, but far from celebratory. More than 120 countries, including the Philippines, approved the first major deal, a promise to end deforestation by 2030. The richer nations pledged $19.2 billion to fund the effort. Logging contributes to global warming because forests absorb carbon dioxide, the predominant greenhouse gas. Among the signatories are Canada, Brazil, Russia, China, Indonesia, the Democratic Republic of the Congo, and the US, whose lands make up around 85% of the world's forests. 28 countries also committed to stop cutting trees to make space to grow agricultural products such as palm oil, soya, and cocoa. More than 30 of the world's biggest financial companies also pitched in, promising to stop investing in activities linked to deforestation. Despite Indonesian President Joko Widodo signing the agreement, his Environment Minister Siti Nurbaya Bakar raised her objection, saying that forcing the country to commit to it was clearly inappropriate and unfair. The massive development of President Jokowi's era must not stop in the name of carbon emissions or in the name of deforestation, she said. Environmental experts were guarded in accepting the agreement, recalling that a similar deal in 2014 had minimal effect in reducing deforestation. The New York Declaration on Forests aimed to halve deforestation by 2020 and stop it by 2030. 40 governments signed up, but key countries like Brazil and Russia weren't among them. A follow-up on the agreement concluded that it failed, and deforestation was continuing at an alarming rate. Another major agreement was not warmly applauded, mainly because the biggest players shunned it. 77 signatories, including 46 countries, pledged to phase out coal within the next 2 decades. That would have been a landmark moment for the Glasgow summit. But Australia, India, the US, and China, which operate around half of the world's coal-fired plants, passed on the deal. Britain's Prime Minister Boris Johnson further squashed the significance of the agreement by acknowledging that his country was opening a new coal mine. Addressing the opening of the summit as its host, Johnson had exhorted the participants. "It's 1 minute to midnight on that doomsday clock, and we need to act now. If we don't get serious about climate change today, it will be too late for our children to do so tomorrow." When later confronted about the new mine, he tried to wriggle his way out. "I'm not in favor of more coal, but it's not a decision for me. It's a decision for local planning authorities," he said. Ending the global reliance on coal has long been a frustrating crusade for environmentalists. A third of the world, many of them developing countries, relies on coal for generating electricity because it is cheap and easily accessible. The fight to end coal use has not gotten the big push expected from the Glasgow conference, and this validates earlier fears that the summit will fail to summon the will to get everyone on board in meeting net zero targets. The Philippines and other countries that are most vulnerable to the impact of climate change have been looking up to COP26 for guidance and hope. The reality is that until a breakthrough in climate action is achieved, we are left with little choice but to fend for ourselves. Between 2003 and 2015, we lost about 154,000 hectares of forest land to logging, despite a moratorium on fallen trees. This exposes loopholes in the enforcement of laws safeguarding forests that need to be plugged. Last April, the government announced it was raising its greenhouse gas emissions reduction target to 75% from 70% 4 years ago. That's a significant start, but more needs to be done if we are to hold our own against global warming. And that's the editorial for Tuesday, November 9, 2021. For more news and information, get a copy of the Manila Times on print, subscribe to our digital edition, or log on to www.manilatimes.net. Follow us on Twitter, Facebook, and Instagram, and listen to The Voice of the Times.